On today's episode, we're going to talk about one of the questions that has been reverberating throughout the entire Bulls fan community, and that is Josh Giddey's future and why what the Chicago Bulls have done with their roster this year, it gives them a chance to really evaluate what the future of Josh Giddey is with this franchise by adding Nic Claxton, Norman Powell, Caleb Wilson, Dailyn Swain, and bringing in Tiago Splitter as the head coach. There's no longer a messy evaluation when it comes to Josh Giddey. This is the cleanest test and easiest way to evaluate Josh Giddey going forward. So today, we're going to ask, is Josh Giddey the lead connector for this new Bulls era, or is he just a piece to the puzzle? We're talking about all that, plus more, and dive into the mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And yeah, man, we're gonna jump right into this, man. And well, before that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We got to go to getting to 50,000 subscribers here by the start of the 2026-27 season. It's one of the loftiest goals that we've ever set for the channel, but we're gonna aim the bar high. We're close to 40,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 50,000. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. About 40% of you guys that watch the daily episodes have not yet hit subscribe. Stop lurking. Hit the subscribe button. Join the family. Also, go ahead and hit that Discord. The link's right there. Some of the best conversations you'll have on any sports, not just the Chicago Bulls. But go ahead and hit that Discord link as well. All right, with that said, let's jump into it. So I want to have a conversation about Josh Giddey. And, you know, I'm not going to take any shots at anybody else in regards to this. We're going to focus on the case at hand. And that is, you know, there's some debate in amongst the Bulls community on what is Josh Giddey. Some have this mindset of there's no way you can build a winning roster with Josh Giddey. And I always think that's a lazy, really kind of statement. Not because, you know, you may not have reasons why you feel it's true, but I feel like this roster construction is just that, roster construction. You can build a roster if you are smart and with the way, if you are actually focused on what and are smart enough to go out and get the players that you need for a roster. You can build a roster, a winning roster with any player. It just determines what that player's role is with that roster and where they fit in with the grander scheme of things, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And so there are basketball reasons that you can have a conversation on why it's difficult to build with Josh Giddey. That is a legitimate question that you can have. But just the blind, oh, you could never win with Josh Giddey as that's just not true, right? And it takes, and even people that are using the OKC Thunder in that series, people forget that the series right before that, Josh Giddey created open shots the same way he did in his last series with the Thunder, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams actually hit that at 36 and a 38% clip on wide open threes, whereas in the last series that Josh Giddey played for that team, the same open looks that he was created, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Smith hit that at 26 and 27% respectively on wide open threes. That would completely flip the dynamic of that series. But nonetheless, that's in the past. Now we're years removed from that. Josh Giddey's been in a Chicago Bulls uniform for 2 years. And I think that with what the Bulls have done this offseason, it really does set the Chicago Bulls up to be judged by not just a roster that's in chaos and in flux, but a roster that is actually that brings some balance, right? This season isn't about finding out if Josh Giddey is good or not, right? And I think that's sometimes too dumbed down with the conversation. It's that can Josh Giddey be the lead offensive connector for the Bulls' new identity? And notice what I didn't say. I didn't say build around Josh Giddey. I didn't say any of that. But the lead connector that helps keep the team, that's what Josh Giddey's best role is. And that's what Josh Giddey would probably even tell you he's best suited for. I think we have to first start saying why this offseason was a huge help to Josh Giddey. First, the Norman Powell signing is a huge evaluation for Josh Giddey because it gives Josh Giddey and Norman Powell a proven shooting guard, right? It gives Josh Giddey that proven shooting guard next to it who can attack closeout, punish defenses, who doesn't need the ball, and doesn't need to be a heavy on-ball scorer, which is what he's had the last 2 years when he's been with the Bulls. Whether it was Kobe White or Zach LaVine, it was a heavy on-ball scorer. This is different. Norman Powell is different than that. And I do think part of it in locking Norman Powell up to only a 2-year deal, it gives you 2 years to evaluate, okay, this is the type of guard that makes sense next to Josh Giddey. Now, can we find a long-term version of that? Do we have that? Can we find that, right? And that's the thing that I think we're going to look in regards to it as well. Now, I do think that it helps Josh Giddey because he's a real veteran shot maker. He does not have to be the best scorer every night, right? And so now Josh Giddey's job becomes a little bit more clear. Push the pace, organize the offense, create easy looks, feed Norman Powell and Buzelis and Caleb Wilson in rhythm, feed those guys in rhythm, and then, of course, use Nic Claxton as a screen setter, a lob, a short roll partner as well, and that is really easy and typical NBA offense, right? The roster gives Josh Giddey more vertical spacing than he's ever had with the Chicago Bulls, more athletic wings as well, more transition finishers. And again, I'm not even saying all this with Josh Giddey being the player that we're building around. The ideal part of it is that Caleb Wilson is going to be, or Modest is going to be the player that we're building around, right? But Josh Giddey is the type of player that can fit in and make those guys' job easier. This is the best version of what Josh Giddey can be in the ecosystem of a team, right? And I think that the offense puts pressure on Josh Giddey as well. With the 4-year deal that he got at now 3 years left on that deal, he's coming off a season where he averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, 7.2 assists, and shooting a career best 37.8% from three. That means that Chicago's not just evaluating him on a flyer like when they first got him, and it's a new front office is coming in there as well. They're evaluating him for what he can look like as a piece of an overall larger core. So the pressure points and the questions that you have for Josh Giddey coming into the season become a lot more clear. One, can the jumper hold up? Can he maintain a 36 to 38% three-point shooter percentage on decent enough volume? It doesn't need to be crazy volume, but decent enough volume. If you do that, defenses can't ignore him at the three-point line, which then does what? It provides spacing for Caleb Wilson, Buzelis to slash, cut, get to the rim. It provides spacing, even more spacing with Norman Powell being out there. The next question for Josh Giddey, can he close games? Can you close games? The starting five of Giddey, Powell, Modest, Wilson, and Nic Claxton has real legitimate size. They can play in pace. The late game spacing is going to be a real interesting pain point here for this team, and you're going to ask your questions. Same question that OKC Thunder had to ask. Can you play Josh Giddey late in games, or do you have to replace one of him or Nic Claxton because they're not volume shooters? That's a question here. Can you defend enough is the next question for Josh Giddey. Tiago Splitter can hide one weak defender. That's it's most coaches. You can hide one weak defender in a starting five, right? But not multiple. Now, I would say this is that the Bulls have strong defenders all in. Norman Powell, a very strong team defender. Buzelis has made real big steps as an on-ball defender. The pick and roll defense got a long way to go there, though, right? But then you got Wilson and Nic Claxton that are defenders. Now, Caleb Wilson, you got to have him adjust in the NBA game. He's going to hit a rookie wall at some point, but he projects to be a really good defender. Giddey has to be positionally sound in his defense. And if you go and look at the numbers, as an on-ball defender of point guards, he's actually taken a major leap over the last 2 years. He's still not the best pick-and-roll defender, but that's where having switchable defenders on your roster and in that lineup with him matter. And when you look at the Bulls and how we now set up roster-wise, there are always potentially multiple switchable defenders out there. Modest is a switchable defender. Caleb Wilson, a switchable defender. Nic Claxton, a switchable defender. Dailyn Swain projects to be a switchable defender. Trey Jones, I wouldn't necessarily call him switchable, but he can guards ones and twos and some threes for shorter lengths, right? You have that part of it that you can. And if Noah Essengue actually ends up developing to another switchable defender, you have switchable defenders that can help cover up some of that pick and roll defense from Josh Giddey, right? And then I think that one of the most important parts for Josh Giddey on this team, this version of the team, can you balance development and control? Modest and Caleb are going to need touches. Josh Giddey's role is to help them grow without turning into a passive ball mover, meaning that get those guys move, active, feed the monsters, and organize that because they don't create their own shot the best yet, right? And then I want to talk about how Tiago Splitter helps that evaluation. Tiago Splitter is the right coach for this. You look at how he used Deni Avdija as a point guard sometimes, and when you look at the background, it points toward development, accountability, pace, structure, all the things that really, the fast read and react, that's all things that play into Josh Giddey's strengths, meaning if Josh Giddey doesn't flash those strengths consistently under Tiago Splitter, there's huge reasons for concern over what that looks like going forward into the long run, right? And I think this, for Josh Giddey, the way that Tiago Splitter is going to test him is in a few ways. A, the primary offensive engine, not the primary offensive scorer, but the engine. Can he run with the starting group and get them the ball the way that they need? Norman Powell's going to create his own shot. Modest can create his own shot a little bit, but almost everybody else in that starting lineup is Josh Giddey's going to be able to organize from the lob threats to Nic Claxton, the short roll on Nic Claxton, the cutting from Caleb Wilson, all that type of stuff. He's going to be there. Pushing the tempo. Can he turn those rebounds into early offense and we actually finish at the rim where we didn't under Billy Donovan? And then the development connector. Josh Giddey is the piece that connects the development to make guys like Wilson, Modest, and Dailyn Swain better right away. And Trey Jones is going to play a part into that too as a bench, but we're focusing on Josh Giddey in this one. And then the staggered unit leader. I think that I've said it on yesterday's episode, somebody on the starting lineup is going to stagger. And it may be determined by which matchup and what team we're going against. But I think that staggering Josh Giddey with the bench, a bench that doesn't necessarily always create the best for themselves, is going to really be important as well. If Tiago Splitter staggers Josh Giddey with Dailyn Swain, Jalen Smith, Isaac Okoro, Rob Dillingham, those type of guys, you're going to be able to see how much Josh Giddey can really elevate in perfect lineups and make them be functional, at least offensively, right? And then I think that this is a proof year. This is a proof of concept year. In short, the clarity that we've set up with this roster now gives Josh Giddey an opportunity to prove it year, right? And I think that's really good. I also think that you can also find out this year, can Josh Giddey be a true lead guard, or is he just a high-level connector who still needs more dynamic pieces around him, but you can still build consistently with that? And how many of those dynamic pieces do you already have on this roster that are going to be developing? So I now think there are three possible future outcomes for Josh Giddey with what's been set up this offseason. One, Josh Giddey becomes the long-term offensive engine, right? This is the best case scenario for that one. He becomes the player that ties everything together, that makes the game easier on everybody, at least through the next 3-5 years and stuff like that. In this version, you don't need Josh Giddey to be some 25-point-per-game scorer. You need him to be a 15, 8-8, or 15, 10-10 type player with just efficient three-point shooting and the strong decision-making that elevates the pieces around him. Number two, Josh Giddey becomes the connector, but not the engine. This is still probably the most realistic middle ground between him being good for this team and off this team, right? Giddey is valuable in this role. He's productive. He's worth keeping around. But the Bulls realize that they still need to prioritize somebody else in regards to that one, and that's perfectly fine, right? Josh Giddey would still be part of the core in this one, but not the entire offensive foundation. And one could say maybe it can fluctuate between, again, if he's still the stagger guy or not, right? And then the third outcome, and that's Josh Giddey becomes a trade asset, right? This is the outcome that is the least favorable of all of this as far as valuing the asset in Josh Giddey. If Josh Giddey's shooting regresses, if the half-court offense struggles with Josh Giddey on the court, if the defense becomes too big of a problem, or if Caleb Wilson and Modest Buzelis prove that they need a different type of point guard out there to really organize them and make the most of the offense, then Bryson Graham may eventually look at Josh Giddey as a movable asset instead of somebody that you're building with in that core. And I think that the contract to Josh Giddey gives them that flexibility. It's $25 million flat. That's an easily movable contract in the modern NBA, right? But I think the biggest thing that you can take away from all of this is that Chicago has put themselves in a real position to truly evaluate Josh Giddey objectively. And that's what Bryson Graham should want in coming into a new situation with the team that doesn't really have any big bad money contracts as well, right? So you're really evaluating whether Josh Giddey's skill set amplifies this new core. Does Caleb Wilson get easier buckets with Josh Giddey out there? Does Modest Buzelis get cleaner looks and attacking lanes with Josh Giddey out there? Does Norman Powell get easier catch and shoot opportunities with Josh Giddey out there? And then does Nic Claxton become an actual vertical and half-court lob threat with Josh Giddey out there? Does his team play smarter, faster, and more in control when Josh Giddey's on the court? That is the real test for Josh Giddey into this one. This offseason has set Josh Giddey up perfectly to be evaluated, and it's also removed a lot of excuses there. And the Bulls gave him a veteran scorer in Norman Powell. They gave him a running center in Nic Claxton, high upside forwards in Caleb Wilson and Modest Buzelis, and even in Dailyn Swain as well. So now the question becomes very simple for that. Is Josh Giddey the guard that unlocks easier offense for these guys? And if he does, then what does that look like for the future? Very simple there. All right, let me know what you guys think on that part down below. Now, before we get into the mailbag, I do want to talk about this as well. The Bulls have released their summer league schedule. Of course, Dailyn Swain, Caleb Wilson are on that summer league schedule. Noah Essengue is also on that, which is important because this is Noah Essenge's first real basketball since his shoulder surgery, which means that as everything that we heard when he got his shoulder surgery, he'll be ready to go by training camp. We can evaluate him. But the thing that really stood out the most to me with this is that Tiago Splitter is going to be coaching the summer league, which means he can build that relationship with Caleb Wilson and Dailyn Swain very early on. But it also gives Tiago Splitter a chance to evaluate Noah Essengue because he didn't get to see Noah Essengue actually play basketball. So now you get to work with him, you get to practice with him, you get to really see, all right, What do I see from Noah Essengue, and how does that give me a jump start on how I want to push him in training camp, which is really good, too, for a player that is still going to be one of the youngest players in the NBA. So I think my biggest takeaway from Summer League is just that, right, is that you get all these guys, these 3 young pieces for the Bulls that are going to be all on the main roster, and you start getting a head start on building that relationship with your head coach, which I think is really important. But all right, enough of me yapping, man. Let's go ahead and get into the mailbag for today, man. This first voicemail that we got, this one's from Corn.
What's the good word, Team Drip? It's your brother Corn. Let's get right into it right the fuck now. So, watching Lock on Bulls, like I stay locked in every day. I want to talk about that too, because I was really thinking about that. The most interesting prospect this year is Noah Essengue. Very, like, we don't know what this kid could develop to. Very small sample size. We saw a little bit of it last year, Summer League. He had a growth spurt. He's a legit 7-footer, man. I saw him shaking hands with Caleb and Swain, and Caleb is 6'10". He's a legit 7-footer. Let's hope. And like I said, he looked like a Tiago Splitter and a BG guy. You know, he checks all the boxes to slap. I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for him. I can't wait. I got my tickets already for Summer League. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to watch him. My hopes are high with him, though. I believe that he can be our center in the future. I truly believe so. We just got to see. You got to get a little bit more muscular. You got to get a little bit more strength. But he already got the length. So I'm curious. Like I said, he's very, very interesting because 2 things can happen. Like, he could end up being a big part of the rotation, or he could be all the way in the back with Patrick Williams. So it's very intriguing and very interesting to see how this kid develops. And I'm rooting for him. I want him to develop. I hope that he develops to be our future and our starting center. And my gut feeling saying that I believe he's capable. I'm going to say he's capable of doing it. If he does, only time will tell. But you already know, King Drip, man, love you. It feels so goddamn good to be a Bulls fan right now, man. I love it. I love every minute of it, man. Hey, man, love y'all, man. See red. Blessings.
Noah Essengue is definitely intriguing, right? And he will be playing in Summer League with Caleb Wilson and Dailyn Swain. I think that a lot of people have kind of forgotten or automatically wrote off Noah Essengue because he didn't play last year. And that's always a weird thing to me. Like, Bulls fans are like, oh, you still believe in Noah Essengue? It's like, yeah, he's a young player that had tons of promise that didn't get to play. Yeah, absolutely. You should still believe in those guys. And losing one season because of injury doesn't all of a sudden change the upside that he had. It'd be different if that injury was something that, like, people don't make 98% recovery from. Like, he's going to be perfectly fine in that one. But it is up to Noah to prove that he has to be on the court, that he can bring something on the court that's a dynamic, that's there. Nothing's going to be given to him. And yes, while he's grown to 7 feet, that doesn't necessarily make him a center. It takes more than just height to be a center, but we'll see what we have. And it's all up to Noah Essengue to bring that now starting in Summer League and in training camp and to show what he can do and make himself be a player that Tiago Splitter feels like he has to play. That's it. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Jamal.
What's going on, Haize? It's your boy Jamal back again. I know it's been a minute since I left a voicemail, but I want to go ahead and get my thoughts out on what's recently been happening with the Chicago Bulls. I got 3 minutes, so we'll get into it. First off, my dad is extremely excited at the fact that we did draft Caleb Wilson at the 4th overall pick. He still won't let me live down the fact that I had some amount of faith in Patrick Williams developing into a star player or a really good player for the Bulls. Of course, he's not the biggest fan of Patrick Williams, but, you know, it is what it is. I'll take that L. So he's extremely happy about that, as well as the other rookie that we did get, Swan, as well. So really excited about seeing them develop. I will say this. I was happy that we did sign Norman Powell. I haven't really watched much of his game these last 2 seasons. I know that he's a decent, veteran player, kind of a journeyman in terms of it. And I think he won, like you said, a championship with the Nuggets, if I'm correct. But I'm not 100% sure. But, decent player, decent shooting guard. He can obviously score. He won it with the Raptors. He can obviously put the ball in the bucket and everything and things like that. My whole thing is this. I think a lot of Bulls fans have to get off this whole mentality of just let the young guys go out there and play, because that's one of the things that hurts a team in developing. You can't always bet on just youth and talent to develop easily. Even when it comes to like the San Antonio Spurs, they knew they had to go get some veteran pieces. As much as we can all talk shit about De'Aaron Fox and what happened in the finals, they knew they needed veteran experience in order for them to get to that next step. Every young team needs a veteran or multiple veterans on that team, not just to teach them how to operate within the league, but also to teach them how to win, at least on a surface level. This young team, we could get a bunch of young rookies and sophomore players and things like that. But I'll think about it like this. OKC developed really well, but part of that development that goes uncredited is the fact that Chris Paul got brought in and really helped a lot of that young core team develop how to win. Even for that 1 year he was there, he was an influence on them. That's what we're looking for. For the next 2 years, I'm not expecting the Bulls to make the playoffs. I just need for at least the next 2 years to see how they develop this young talent and see if they can instill in them a culture that can lead towards winning in the future. Let me know what you think. As always, C-Wig, go Bulls. Peace.
First of all, shout out to you, Pop. Shout out to you. We haven't heard from you in, I think it's been over a year since your last voicemail. But I will say this, Caleb Wilson is definitely a player that's worth getting excited about. He's definitely worth getting that. And, we'll see what he's going to bring here. He has the right mentality. He has the super huge upside. And I do love that he is somebody that takes pride in the defensive side of the ball. Not a lot of these young guys take huge pride in the defensive side of the ball. And so we're going to get to see what that brings for this team, right? I do think you want your young players to develop in structure, and that's what Norman Powell, that signing brings to Norman Powell. And so, like with the Powell and Claxton acquisition, especially on the short-term contracts that they're on, Bryson Graham has basically created structure on this roster for the young players to develop, while you then go out and look for long-term replacements for those guys. And we'll see what happens with that one. But great voicemail, Jamal. Thank you for calling in. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's for Mike.
Yes, this is Mike from McHenry, a first-time caller. I noticed the Bulls signed Norman Powell as their off guard, their big guard. I just wanted to say, what do you think? I think Patrick Williams, if need be, could be a pretty good off guard. He played guard in high school. He's a very good defensive player, and he does have a nice three-point shot. I want to know what you think about that, of having Patrick Williams playing the off guard for the Bulls. I think he would be okay. Thank you, Haize.
P. Will is too slow to play guard. He doesn't have the lateral quickness. He doesn't have the decision-making. He doesn't have the agility. He doesn't have anything you really look at. Like, just because, and Norman Powell is 6'4", 6'5", like, he's not as big as P. Will. Like, no, I don't think P. Will can play any guard. And at this point, too, I think we got to stop trying to figure out, like, P. Will is a 3 or a 4. That's it. And if he can't do that, then he's not going to amount to much of shit. Like, and I'm not cursing at you as that P. Will. Like, I just think P. Will just, at this point, there's no more excuses for P. Will. You got tons of people ahead of you now in that forward rotation. Go out there and prove it. And that's just it. If he doesn't prove it, then he's not going to be in a rotation. It's as simple as that. You're not moving P. Will to guard. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Vaughn.
What's good, Haize? What's good, Bulls Nation? This is Unc Vaughn, not Alt Vaughn no more, man. Unc Vaughn from Indianapolis. Haize actually gave me that moniker one time. He said I sound like a drunk uncle at a family reunion. But anyway, that's kind of funny though. Anyway, man, I'm elated. I'm on cloud 9 as a Bulls fan today. Norman Powell, 2 years, $22.5 million. And I think what some of the complainers need to understand is that 33 is like, how do they say it? Like 40 is the new 30. 33 is the new 30, meaning that, you look at guys like Harden, you look at guys like Durant. Yeah, they get a little bit injured more. And, of course, Bron, dudes are playing higher levels in their mid-30s now. So, 33 is, like I said, that's really more like 30 or 31 of a decade ago. So let's keep that in mind. Not only that, but the deal's only for 2 years. I mean, that Powell coming off an all-star year, 22 points a game, 40% from three, 47% from the field, man, he's being underpaid maybe. And Giddey's probably being underpaid for $25 million. So the Bulls got some really good-ass contracts, man. We need to be excited about that. I like Zach Collins, but again, the best ability is availability. So I almost wish we would have took a flyer on another big, but I think he does complement Claxton well, because if you would have brought in Nick Richards, you would have had two non-shooting dudes, and you can't have that. The only gripe, and Haize, you know I can't not leave one gripe, is y'all and the media and Haize, you two, talking about Dailyn Swain like he's the next two. We don't know that he's just going to make, dude expendable. Powell. We don't even know if he's really a two versus a three. When you watch his movements, you watch his film, his video with Texas, he doesn't catch and shoot. He doesn't come off screens. He's not like Cam Carr. I hate to say it, and I really like Dailyn Swain, but dude kind of reminds me of James Johnson with better handles. So let's quit anointing this dude as the two of the future. He may just be a really solid dude off the bench. I'm not seeing, I really like Swain, but I'm not seeing all this two guard of the future like most of y'all. So anyway, see red, y'all.
Norman Powell is definitely a solid signing. He's definitely a solid signing. I like that. I think the contract is also great for a lot of reasons for the Chicago Bulls. The fact that it's only 2 years with a 1-year opt-out, that's perfect. It's smart for the Bulls. I also think that Zach Collins the play style is not the problem. Zach Collins' play and the way that he plays fits in perfectly with what the Bulls need from a backup center. The question is how often he's going to be on the basketball court. Now, also, Vaughn, I got to call you out on this one. You got to stop always trying to work. Like, your complaints are stupid. I'm just going to be 100% quite honest and frank with you. Nobody's crowning him as the next shooting guard, but it'd be asinine and stupid and low basketball IQ not to look at him and look at where his long-term position projects. And it doesn't just mean that the fact of if he can shoot threes or not, which he isn't a terrible three-point shooter at 34%. Like, he's not that. He's younger than Cameron Carr. It just seems like sometimes, Vaughn, you got to stop trying to be the smartest man in the room and just give your take. Just give your thought, give your opinion, because honestly, bro, you be whining. And you whine a lot about shit that don't even need to be whined about. You're whining about people being excited about the player that we drafted 15th overall. That really sounds smart to you? And you didn't even bring an actual criticism or critique or a basketball thought that you had on your own. You're more so worried about what other people think and say, oh, well, people don't need to think that. Well, how about you give a counterpoint? How about you actually give some thought process? And I'm harder on Vaughn because me and Vaughn actually talk outside of just this podcast stuff. We text each other. But Vaughn, as a brother to you, I gotta admit to you, bro, especially with you being as old as what you are, you whine a lot, bro. You do whine a lot, and it be incessive whining that really doesn't lead to any actual criticism or thought. Like, come on, let's be better about that. All right, let's get into this last voicemail, man. This one's from Oscar.
Hey, what's up, Haize? It's your boy Jeremy down here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, just a few things. I mean, I love the addition of Powell. I think that'll be great. Hopefully Swain can develop and take that starting role, but I think the addition of Powell is just something that we really needed. We needed another vet on our team. My son, he's always been wanting Nic, so he was happy we got Nic. So I know he's not the answer to all, but I think he'll be great running up and down the court. One thing I did notice, though, is that I find amazing is the bond that Caleb and Swain already have. It seems like watching all these specials or shows with them on there. I mean, Caleb kept telling us Swain he's going to live with him, that kind of deal. I mean, these kids are young at the end of the day. So, you got Caleb saying he wants to be the best ever. You had Mattis saying the same thing. So I think these guys are going to push each other. They're all going to develop, get that bond. Giddey, I mean, they're all young, so I just love seeing that bond, develop already. They're going to go to war together. And then Summer League's going to set up great. We get to see Caleb and Swain go against the other top guys. So, I mean, they knew what they were doing with that. Like you said, I cannot wait. Get to see Noah Essengue out there also. He grew to 7 foot. So we'll see these guys, get out there and run up and down the court, my bad. But, yeah, and as far as that last roster spot, I'm like you, Bryson kind of has that long-term plan. I mean, I could be wrong, but I could definitely see him holding that last spot till maybe mid-season, make a move then. But, yeah, I'm just hyped. Summer League is going to be lit. Cannot wait. So tell me what you think, man. Be red. Peace out, bro.
I definitely think we have a good rebuilding foundation, right? We have young players that want to push and they're going to fight for each other. They're going to push each other in practice. That's how you build a right winning environment. That's how you build and really get to see the makeup and the intellect and the thought process of these players. I think that's good, right? You have veterans around those guys that can support their development. And not to say that Bryson Graham did it perfectly, but I do think Bryson Graham has really set us up to be in a really good evaluation place with this roster. And that's what you really should want if you're a Bulls fan, is to be able to evaluate this young talent, have them in the right situation to develop, and then let's see what we really have in these guys. And hopefully 2-3 years down the road, we're talking about this young core that is now starting to make that leap. And hopefully we're going to get there sooner rather than later. But I want to thank everybody who left a voicemail, man. Thank you guys for all tuning in and supporting the channel. Make sure you guys sound off in the comment section down below on your thoughts on Josh Giddey in this evaluation year, Tiago Splitter coaching the Summer League team, and also anybody else's voicemails as well. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or a live stream. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of Breaks